Hey everybody. So a couple people asked me a few days ago what my load order is, or well, actually asking for suggestions on how the load orders should look like. It's pretty broad. I mean, you have to make logical decisions when you're placing your mods. As a very wise man said, you could have 100 mods that don't conflict, and your load order would not matter. So it's really a matter of which mod needs priority over uh, the other. So the lower your mod, the more priority it gets. But anyway, I do have a couple mods that I haven't been able to publicly post yet because of a lack of permissions. But we do have a lot of good alternatives for them already, and I do have a couple paid creations as well. So yeah, I'll try to explain the positioning of the mods as well. So hope we learned something. And yes, I do have to keep it offline because my load order keeps crashing. I do have about 260 mods. So anyway, simple workaround framework and USSCP always be your first two mods. Well, at least a simple workaround. At least USSCP kind of moves around a bit too. So anyway, all this is your master section. Everything goes towards the top automatically. City Planner. These are some quirky orcs player homes. I love having lots of player homes. Flora Edition Skyrim Road Reconstruction Project. We do have this already. This is a latest version. But mostly what it does is it's just filling in some of the gaps left in the port that is made public. Anyway, water for E&B, which are style fences. Blacksmith Forge Water Fix. If you don't know about this mod, it replaces the static water image at forges with actual flowing water. So it's not a big thing, but it makes a hell of a difference. Savvy Merchants makes selling prices lower and buying prices higher. That's a pretty nice mod. Natural waterfalls, 3D plants. That's Dr. Jacopo's 3D plants. And these are a couple unorthodox creations. I love his quest mods, and these are pretty good. Into the Abyss. This is also available for free as well, but the lost levels it adds a couple more content to it. And then Morrowind's Blood Moon. That is also a location overhaul for Solstheim. Adds a lot of new locations to discover. I mean, Solstheim always did lack notable locations. I mean, it did have a couple, but this one adds a lot of new areas to discover. Alright, time for the nitty gritty. Skyrim Recut. Compatibility will be very questionable with this, especially if you're using the JK's suite. This does add a lot of restored dialogue and a couple buildings as well, so you might see a couple of clipping with the Recut. But for the most part, it's been pretty okay as far as I've tested it out. Wilds of Skyrim adds a lot of wildlife to the outdoors. Also puts I think it's about 200 NPCs with their own schedules into the wilds. Can cause a lot of FPS loss though, due to the so many animals and NPCs spawning. Crafting enhanced? No, this is a pretty good mod. What this does is basically adds a lot of new components required for crafting stuff for almost any armor or weapon. Usually it would be a strip of leather and ingot, but this thing adds like rivets, pommels, hilts to the crafting recipes. It can get a bit tedious, but no, I like it. I do think it does not work with the art of smithing. I did not check it out again. I just literally finished my load order, so if you don't see the new crafting recipes, it's probably conflicting with the art of smithing. Alright, so the top part, that was our master files up to here, everything that sorts itself up to the top. Then you want to start with anything that needs lower priority, especially cut content, so this one goes directly above. Then all this is affecting your Creations Club content as well as existing mechanics, so you want to keep them fairly up top as well. Then we have our dialogue mods, guard dialogue overhaul, immersive persuasion, realistic conversations. All this should also be fairly high. If you have a Khajiit speak, you want that to be fairly high as well. And I use Nordic UI Lite because of the space. This is 500 in KB. The full version would be, well, the Sky UI version would be a whopping 10 megabytes. Oh, too much space. But you do need all this separately if you use the light version. And if you don't have pause on game load, you definitely want this. Grab it right now. Just grab it right now. It's a lifesaver. Oh yeah. So exercise, exhaustion, geometric stat growth. That's basically kind of overhauling how your health, stamina, and magic, as well as your leveling stats work. Do check out the full descriptions for this, but I think this is a pretty nice couple mods to mix up your gameplay. Uh, and then Diet Dragon Souls to perk points. You can trade Dragon Souls for perks. And then Beast Immersive Armors is a pretty nice mod as well. It gets a bit tedious, but basically your armors and weapons can break on you, and if they do, you have to repair them by crafting repair kits. One thing that's pretty tedious with it is if you say break your iron armor, every single iron armor piece would break. So it goes by category and not by individual armor pieces. So, well, it actually makes your useless loot not just fodder for selling it like junk. Every piece of armor you find, that leather piece of armor, that could be a lifesaver. AI overhaul light. It does cause pretty long load screen time, so I keep it disabled until I'm ready to play. Actually, Warrior Point Powers. Everyone knows about these mods. Mysticism, Wolf Coordinator. And these two patches are for Volcard, but I checked Nexus mods. These are the same patches that should make Mysticism work with Valkyrie and Base Ordinator. And then Valkyrie Nader. Spellforge. Go read the Nexus mods description for this. But basically, you have to play a mini game to learn new spells with this. Then we come to our general meshes and textures section. Enhance rocks and mountains, rules of Skyrim. Everyone should have at least these two mods. Now, Vibrant Weapons does have a bug where if you sheath an enchanted weapon, it causes your game to crash. I believe this is only when you're using an XP32 skeleton. So one way to mitigate it is to directly swap from your enchanted weapon to a non-enchanted weapon with a hotkey. Otherwise, if you sheath your weapon, it can cause your game to crash. This is a Samim barrel, and then big tree that is simply bigger trees, and 2K pines. That's the enhanced vanilla trees. I just took the pine part to reduce the size and use it for my simply bigger trees. Then the forest part, everybody knows what that is. Oh, I have duplicate mods. Sky Better Roads and Bridges. Sky Better Roads. I don't need this one. Let's delete that. And now I have to scroll back all over again. Alright. So if anyone doesn't know, beaten path is basically a mix of ancient lands and detailed carriages and interesting roads, as well as a Thames unmarked location pack. It is pretty compatible with a lot of other road mods except Northern Roads, but we do have a lot of Northern Roads patches for this as well. They're pretty nice mod though, if you're not using Northern Roads. And Flava, that is a test mod that I am converting from Legendary to Special Edition. I'm about to test if it works. Next is Floating Islands. Everybody loves this mod. I think this is the most downloaded mod ever. Now, I do use JK Skyrim and City Planner, but I threw on spaghettis on top just to see what happens. As far as I know, the worst thing that happens is I'll see duplicate objects with some clipping, and at worst I would have a lot of FPS loss, so take it with a grain of salt. You really don't want to combine spaghettis with a City Planner series, but what the heck. Then Skyrim V2, and I do have JK's Vinhelm as a separate add-on. Vinhelm is not included in the version 2 because of FPS issues, but I do have spaghetti stacked on top, so FPS is not exactly something I'm worried about. And then TGC Solitude, you can put it next to your JK Skyrim as well. It only touches the docks section of Solitude. It's actually pretty good. I think you do need a Northern Roads patch for this, or a Lanterns of Skyrim patch, either of the two. Hamlet, I'm not sure. That's I believe that's a dock area in Solstheim. It kind of overhauls that part. And of course, the Ruins bundle. This is the Ruins compatible version, so you can use all of Ruins locations except the Bleak Falls Barrow. It's the Bleak Falls is pretty much overhauled in this bundle itself. It also contains imperial castles and medieval towers, and a lot of other location overhauls. I do think I put them all in the description. So JK's other locations, and then all of Rin's stuff. And then Seago did release a couple patches to make JK's outskirts work nice with the City Planner and Rin's farms. So you have to be pretty accurate in your patch placement over here. And the rest of Rin's suite. And then we could start with the City Planner. And I do use the regular Agalma Infinium and the outdated version of Riverwood, because I did not have the 7 MPs to spare for the Agalma 2.0 farmhouses. But the older version is pretty good as well. And then Juliha's Dungeons. That's basically your cave pack. I don't use any city textures or dungeon textures, but Agalma and Juliha, they do a pretty good job, especially considering they were made before external assets were a thing. Agalma does cover a lot of city textures, farmhouses, and imperial forts. And Juliha's for your green, and I think there's two types of caves. It does a pretty good job. So both of them stacked together, I get a pretty good, get a pretty nice visuals without having any proper, texture overhauls. And then I did have Witcher fences up top, so Agalma Witcher fence patch. You don't need this if you're using the 2.0 farmhouses. And then Infinium Vanilla Purist patch, if you're using, say, Blended Roads or Northern Roads, you absolutely need this patch if you're using Agalma Infinium. Me personally, I use Cathedral Landscapes, and I did not have any issue while using this patch. And High Quality Ivy and Hanging Moss to HQ Ivy. It's a pretty amazing mod when you stack it up with Green Thumb. And then Cathedral Landscapes. It also has blended roads in it already, so you do not need that as a separate mod. You could stack really blended roads alongside with it. I think it looks really, really good. But 16 megabytes, way too much. Rocky mossy roads, that just completes the whole look for blended roads. Takes care of the dirt and road seams pretty well as well. And then that is the second part of 3D plants. I kept them both separate because apparently the 3D plants comes with an ESP as well. And I wanted to take a couple of things out. No, I cannot make it public. And Rocky Shores, I love this. Now, Cathedral Landscapes does not cover mountains, so you do need your separate mountain mod. Majestic Mountains is the recommended mountain mod as far as I've researched. I think Koak did release Majestic Mountains as well. But Asset Infinium for barely 3 megabytes does an amazing job texturing mountains and rocks. If you have not used it yet, I say definitely give it a try. Goes very, very well with Cathedral Landscapes. And you can use Fuzz Beads and Gorgeous Giant Camps with the bundle, Ruins bundle pack. I think the worst thing you'll see is some minor clipping at Halted Stream Camp. Um, Especially if you're using a Rin's Halted Stream Camp. But I don't think it's anything bad. It's just a minor clipping of, I think, a campsite or something. Not too bad. I think Quaint Raven Rock's the best overhaul for Raven Rock right now, at least on PlayStation. I do have Spaghetti's Raven Rock as well, but I haven't seen anything, any conflicts or equipping objects with these both yet. You do want to keep Quaint Raven Rock below Spaghetti's, or you'll have all sorts of landscape height issues and missing stuff. And Magical College of Winterhold, Standard Beacon Enhanced, yeah. You could use JK's College of Winterhold, but if you don't have the space, I think this is a pretty nice alternative. And a little lightweight Orc Stronghold overhaul. And come all my home mods. I do not know why I have so many home mods. And I do use a Radijo in place of Norton Roads. Made my life so much better. And it's pretty compatible with a lot of mods. Ancient Land, Interesting Roads, Beaten Path, basically. I have not seen any conflicting stuff with JKs or city planners yet. I think Celtic Julo did mention something about it conflicting with Whiterun outskirts, but if it does, I have not come across it yet. So that's all the landscapes and city location overhaul section that I keep. I like to keep them all bundled in the same location, so if I want to make some arrangements, I can just eyeball it as I'm scrolling down. And then we have clothing and NPC changes here. Better dressed NPCs, very children, very priests. For barely 100 KBs, these mods do absolute wonders. And fully swapped armors, I think that is an amazing mod. I think the alternative armors they added look amazingly well. Plus, I like how they feel like they fit the vibe of Skyrim, or I'd never use any custom armors. I actually like vanilla armors a lot. And these two are also from J Serpa, Party Snacks. That's the Party Snacks Quest expansion. No, we do not have permission for this. I am sorry. But New Dawn, that is a paid creation. And from the description and Reddit reviews, I heard this is a pretty well liked mod. So if you want to try it out, go ahead. Okay, now we come to my combat setup. immersive movement, synchro combat, weapon parry, and stagger. I don't use Wildcat or any other combat mods just because of this single mod, weapon parry and stagger, along with the beast immersive armors. It makes combat flow pretty consistent. I mean, if you hit an enemy, they will always stagger. If you do a what's it called a charge attack, they would stagger even harder. Yes, but yeah, makes the flow of combat a lot more consistent. Like you don't have to you know uh, think if your strike's gonna stagger an enemy or not. So it makes dealing with large groups of enemies a lot easier. Especially with the enemy setup I have, you'll see below. I have a lot of enemy setups. But yeah, I think this makes the flow of combat a lot more predictable and easier. Plus, it doesn't stagger every single type of enemy, so you still have to, be prepared. Dragons, Dwemmers, Centurions, enemies like that, they don't stagger as easy. The realistic enemies and realistic combat AI. And then Second Nature, that's another paid creation mod I came across an hour ago. It seemed pretty interesting. I haven't tried it out yet, but what it does is it gives you a couple spells that can auto trigger according to a given situation. Um, do check in the description out for yourself. I still have to test this thing out, but look pretty interesting, so might as well. Anyway, let's go to my enemy overhaul list. Rebalanced encounter zones. Uh, this makes the game a lot more harder. Caps enemy levels in certain in all of your zones basically. So if you're out leveled, you gotta come back. You can't just force your way in. You can't just go to Bleak Fold as soon as you start your game. You gotta level up. Bully some lower level enemies. Pick on someone your own size before entering higher level cap zones. And deadly bosses and deadly Draugr. And deadly Draugr adds a lot of Draugr encounters in the open world, as well as adding new variants of Draugrs in Nordic ruins. I especially like the fight scene right outside Solitude. It has a hulking Draugr, like a big ass Draugr. I think it's called the Draugr Behemoth. But yeah, makes for some interesting Draugr encounters. And deadly bosses also adds some boss type enemies, and they can be ridiculously overpowered. But you can cheese them, from what I've found in my limited playthroughs. But yeah, add some interesting layers to otherwise dull zones. Yeah. And then improve bandits, oblivionized skeletons. Splendor adds the total number of dragons to 144. If you go by the mod description, but yeah, adds a lot more dragons. Plus stacks well with the Diet Dragon Souls to perk points mod that I had in the top portion. So, more dragons, more perks for you. Witcher Bestiary adds a couple new type of enemies, and not all of them will die by weapon swings. Sometimes you need to use different elements to, kill them, unalive them. Excuse my bluntness. Yeah, that's a pretty good enemy overhaul as well. Then Hokaron, this just adds a bit more, in a nutshell, adds more difficulty to your enemy encounters. And then Enemy Plus, you don't need me to describe what this mod does. Khajiit Caravans, Argonian Hatchlings, just kid versions of Khajiit and Argonians. It's nothing much, but it's a pretty nice touch. And then we come to my level lists and loot section. Smith's equipment and loot and shops. That just adds tempered equipment and weapons to your loot and merchant stocks. Books gives you more books, and books. Less coin, more nuggies is another loot overhaul. Adds a lot of junk to sell. Reduces the amount of coins you find, but replaces them with amethysts, sellable junk, and gold, silver nuggets. I like shinies. Coins V3, I have asked for permissions for this mod for a year now, and the author has not responded to me. But you could use coins and exchange instead of this. What both of these mods do is add gold, silver, and copper versions of coins, each having their different exchange rates. So that's another nice touch to your economy. More salt means more salt. And then your beauty section here. I think Virtue and Reveri, I think these are pretty high quality mods, skin mods. Um, yeah, I prefer them over UNP and over everything else basically. It's pretty high detail for a 1K skin mod. And surround the dialogue add-on. I do say it's a test, but from what people have said, they seem to say it's working pretty well. So I'll just take the test off of the description soon. And surround the reimagined. And then some quality of life mods that I have here. Block steal. This basically prevents you from stealing anything until you go in the crouch position. So you can't accidentally steal something. You have to crouch to enable stealing. That's a pretty good quality of life mod. Down here, lift bodies and resurrection. Uh, if an NPC dies, you can resurrect them. It comes in pretty handy. Shield on the torch puts a torch on your shield. Do read the mod description for this. My dungeons can get pretty dark, so I need my torch, especially when I'm using a shield. Recolor replica, you know that. I'm not even gonna go into this one. Sorry. Then guns and pistols. Oh, torchlight expanded. And hard to swallow. That's considered like an apothecary replacement for myself that I use. It is actually available to download. Apothecary heals over 10 seconds or 5 seconds, but with this mod, you still get a decent amount of instant health boost before the rest of it heals you over time. So if you're in a bind, you can still use, get out of a tricky situation. With Apothecary, I just found I just kept dying and dying and dying because my health just did not restore. Uh, Especially when you're when you're hit by a fire spell, it does not heal you up. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good alternative to Apothecary. Plus, you don't need the 4 patches that come with Apothecary. So, engineering toolbox. This is a pretty. It takes away a lot of smoke particle effects and some other stuff as well. Nets you pretty good FPS back. Plus, I find that it makes my visuals a lot more appealing. I do not like the smoke particles coming from fire sconches. So apart from an FPS boost, it's also makes your visuals pretty appealing. And torchlight expanded. That's like I said before, my dungeons can get pretty dark, so I need my torch with me. And then critter fixed. I believe this adds glow to critter type animals and takes away the collision from them as well, so you don't get stuck colliding with critter type spawns. And then my weather and lighting section. I love RLO inspired. Not sure if anyone else likes it, but I do. It kind of puts the color back. A lot of people complain about Obsidian that it's just too blue filtery. I find RLO inspired adds some color back to Obsidian. So anyway, Atlantis Galaxy and then Minty Lightning and True Storms. I love this setup. And then paraphernalia ambiance, it's not for everybody, but I get a pretty good visual with this mod stack on top of 13's RLO. You can try it out yourself. I like it. Not sure if you would. Then water for E&B Shades of Skyrim. This is the 512 version. I mean, even if it is 512, it looks absolutely amazing. You do not need 2K or 1K textures for water. I mean, you can barely. I mean, if it's 1K or 2K, it gets more sharper. It actually looks a lot weirder. I think Kovac did an amazing job choosing 512 textures for it. It looks absolutely amazing. Plus, it doesn't cost you 30 megabytes. So, another win-win. Then Ninja Test, I need to update the description for this. What Ninja Test does is it kind of takes away the foamy textures from water that you could see when it's colliding against boulders or rocky formations in the water. So it kind of takes away the foamy appearance from the water textures. Then I need always has to be below your water mod. You probably know what that does. I don't need to explain that. And for my bridges, improved bridges of Skyrim, this is the compatible version. It's I think that was made to not conflict with JK's outskirts AIO. And convenient bridges, this is use it at your own discretion. It adds new bridges to some locations that absolutely did need them. And master the summit. I'll just let you watch the description, read the description. If you're using mods like Nature of the Wildlands or you know Fable Forest, anything like that, this mod would definitely, I can see it clipping or trees clipping in between the bridges. But I mean, I just use simply bigger trees, so I'm not worried about that personally. And then Phoenix Compendium, yet again, combat music on threat. This fixes the combat music not playing when you're a higher level than enemies. I mean, you don't notice it until you actually get to a higher level, and then you'll realize that your combat music just stops playing. It just stops playing. I think I reached level 25, and I noticed that my combat music stopped playing for a majority of my enemy encounters. So, just so you know, this does exist. The Natural Waterfall Sound add-on. There's two uploads of this. Use the one that I uploaded. The older port waterfall sounds clipped out, stopped playing. So use my port. It's not broken. It does work. There's just two ports of it. Then the racial body morphs is basically an XP32 skeleton. So if you see RBM or racial body morphs anywhere, you can conclude that they already have an XP32 skeleton. But what RBM does is it kind of adjusts the physique of not enemies, every NPC player character according to their race, and this is the realistic equipment positions version. And I like climbing mountains, so big jump times 5. Vanilla Animation Replacer by Tequila Sunset. This just came out 2 or 3 days ago. Absolutely amazing for the amount of megabytes that it costs. I have noticed that sometimes the animations have to play completely before you can, swing your weapon or do anything like that. So sometimes you just have to wait for the animations to, stop before you can perform an action. So a little bug, but not too bad. Sigma Magic, comprehensive first-person animations overhaul, ultimate dogma, player head tracking. Use the light version of player head tracking. I believe this is scriptless. The non-light version does cause crashes, if I remember correctly. And waifu expression redux just adds more expressions to the player character, as well as NPC replacers like High Poly Kaiden, Serana Reimagine, True Blood. Any NPC replacer that uses a high poly head. So if you do have Serana Reimagine like me, you definitely want this mod. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, not the best way to show a mod list, but the mod list keeps crashing when I try to show it online. So yeah, let me know if you need a written or a document format for this. I do have one made, but that was based on an older LO I prepped and never actually managed to play. So hopefully I can actually start playing this game. Uh, so yeah, let me know if I confuse you.